30 years. Yeah,
And
great.
complete side note, only because I know more obviously than I'm interviewing about, but how long did it take you to get your fully approved pension from the Canadian Forces?
20 years after I left. And I got a friend of mine served with me in Somalia, same injuries, and he only just got his full pension last week, 31 years after the fact.
Well, that's why I push concepts like the Bro Show, why I helped Veterans House with Canalux back in its day. You know, why
Yeah.
positions like, other veteran-owned companies, they do well because they have, every company can make money and then show a profit, then have money as your reason. But when you're using those profits for a reason, it's so much better. Like, for instance, why we're working together, why we're doing this interview right now. If everybody takes a look, the GoFundMe link in my About section, if you're watching this in the aftermath or currently as it's posted right now, I'll post it again for anybody showing up new. But this link pops up when I'm live all the time. I've been doing an average of 12 to 14 hour streams for the last month, so about 5-6 days a week. So you'll see this link pop up all the time. And why we keep pushing it so hard is so that veterans get to hold on to their stories and be the ones who profit from them, as they should. And then they get to designate where the profits go, you know?
You just brought up the third point in the book, which is the fact that when we release medically, two things happen. One, we have to prove that we're being released medically for service-related injuries, which is really, really weird because you spend a couple of years on a temporary category.
Yeah.
Then they decide that you're not going to heal in a timely fashion. So they put you on a permanent category and then they give you a medical release. So everything is documented that you were injured due to your service.
Yeah.
But when you're released, you have to go to Veterans Affairs and prove it.
Which makes no sense.
No sense at all. Well, you've got your release medical that proves it. Use it. Give us our pension, right?
Yeah.
And then, like the next couple things that happen after that, because we're being released, we're not having medical pensions. There's a disparity in pensions. So, for example, I'm under the old system of the 1919 Act. So my medical pension over a 30-year period could amount to something like $900,000, up to $3 million over a lifetime, depending upon when I start my pension and how old I am.
Right.
And under the new Pension Act, the 2019 Act, they roughly get, let me think, 400 to 600,000. Probably closer to 200,000.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's at 50%. It's 200,000. So they get 400,000 at 100%. And
so that's new veterans after when?
Yeah.
Like Afghan veterans? Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Post 2006, Afghan veterans only get a total of 400,000 for their lifetime. Doesn't matter when they start the pension, how old they are. And then if you're collecting it on a monthly basis, that equates to around $1,200 a month is your monthly pension. My monthly pension is $5,000 a month.
And do you have option to take it as a lump sum?
I don't get that option, but the new pensions do. And if you're a female and you take the monthly, you only get $1,000 a month. Right? And if that isn't discrimination, I don't know what is.
Well, I know to re-enlist, I would have to fully vaccinate and do a whole lot of other shit. So I remember just going, you know what? Let's just try this full-time streamer thing first, see if it's a success. And you know what? I love media production. And then you sent me that link about actually being able to like get a school credit for it, maybe get set up with CBC or CTV or Discovery even. And imagine if I was able to do the Bro Show on the road as I was also helping produce for Discovery. That would be phenomenal. Like, that'd be a dream coming true. Like, I've always wanted to be a producer. And the funny thing about veterans especially is it's a different type of personality. It's not a better type of personality. It's very different. And whereas the type of personality that can self-start, keep the engine running for long periods of time without needing to be refueled, that's essential for film sets. Huge. Film sets, if you're out there filming documentaries and you can't pull the camera away, you need somebody who can sit there in the searing heat for like 24 hours filming something.
getting guys like you trained
Yeah.
is critical, absolutely critical. We have been at the media for 31 years, and they still ignore us. No one knows what's going on, right? And
Well,
this is
yeah.
the whole reason. This is the whole reason I've written the book, is that people get knowing what's going on. If we can get guys trained in media
Hmm.
to start telling the story and getting it out there week after week after week, then maybe finally we'll get some traction and get heard.
Well, and,
You
and
know?
that media training comes in too. Like, for instance, just shouting out Black Rifle Coffee and how they do it. They do a serious video, and then they do 3 hilarious videos that have nothing to do with anything but fun or coffee. And then you do
Yeah.
a serious video. And of course, you could do the coverage of how much we raised for this and how much we're donating for this and why this cause is so important. But we have
Yeah.
these people's stories. Like, for instance, Stefan's involved with the Veteran Songwriter Camp. Once a year, they put a bunch of veterans in one location. They write an album during that week, professionally produced and edited, and release it every year. And that kind of thing, if the media, if everybody there, for instance, had my mindset, which is still an untrained media production mindset, it would go so much further. So imagine with a fully properly trained media mindset on how big these things can get. They can become self-replicating. They can become revenue streams. They can become employment sources and ways for veterans to step in and say, hey, I don't need my pension, or I can at least afford to wait because we're taking care of ourselves and our own team.
Yeah. So that the first album from the song camps
Mm.
got nominated for Inspirational Album of the Year for East Coast Music Awards.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like first one out of the gate. It's like, holy geez, you know. And that was just this last year.
Well,
And
exactly.
yeah, and so we're there's a lot of hope for. And the second album, and this is just my opinion, even though I wasn't involved in writing the second album, I did co-write the Enemy on the first album.
Mhm.
Um,
That was a great
and
song.
yeah, so if you go to Bandcamp and look up Keith Mullins,
Mhm.
Veteran Song Camp, there's 2 albums there. So the very first album is OG6, which is the original group of 6. So we were the Shakeout group. The Enemy is the one I co-wrote, and the like for that album to get that nomination is
Mhm.
incredible. But in my opinion, the second album was even better than the first, and the third album blew both of the first and second away. The accomplishments have escalated, just incredible. What we learned
Mhm.
from one brought into the next, up the like it's just incredible watching this thing grow. It was amazing.
Well, and there's the benefit, for instance, like I can look back 10 years on YouTube. And I'll tell
Yeah,
you, we have a few times recently looked back on my old season 1 or season 2 videos, and there is a distinct difference between what I'm doing right now and what I was doing back then. Like, if I was doing now what I was doing back then, where would I be now? And
yeah,
that's hand in hand where it comes into working together. Like, we're working together. You have Veterans House, you've got Doug and the NHL and stuff like that, and we've got this massive network working together towards independent projects of the same sort of collective.
yeah. I should do that off. That's the T-shirt from the song camps.
Aha, that's ironic.